Hi everyone, here are the latest features added to Metro Mapmaker in version 7.2, which is scheduled to release on Friday, December 5th. This version adds the selection tool, which is a feature that many Metro Mapmaker users like you have requested, and one I think is a pretty big deal. Before I talk about version 7.2, I want to very quickly say that in November 2025, I released a feature for a new low graphics mode that's available under this settings menu here. This was in response to many reports that Metro Mapmaker was slow on Firefox, and in my tests, if you check this box, it fixes the problem entirely without sacrificing too much image quality. So now on to version 7.2. I think the new select tool that I've added is a pretty big deal. When I added the Move Stations feature in version 7.1 in January 2025, I was really pleased at how it made editing stations much faster. With Move Stations, if you misplace a station or even if you just want to move it, you can move it to another line with the arrow keys or even with the mouse or keyboard shortcut M very, very easily. You don't have to delete the station and the line and then redraw the line and then re-add the station entirely. You can just move it wherever you want. Now, I love using Metro Mapmaker to make maps also, just like you. And the Move Stations feature made making maps go so much faster for me. And I think the select tool is going to be a similar quality of life improvement because you'll be able to move several stations all at once. And of course, you'll be able to move lines as well. So first, let's see how it works by creating a selection. To create a selection, first I'll click the select button in the green menu. You can also use keyboard shortcut T. And then I will click and drag on the map to create my selection box. Notice when I let go of the mouse, you'll see the marching ants animation. And once we have a selection, many Metro Mapmaker features act just a little bit differently. First, you can move just your selection without moving the entire map. You can move a selection with the arrow keys like I'm doing now, or you can press the Move Selection button or keyboard shortcut M in the green menu to move a selection with the mouse. Notice that when you're moving a selection with the mouse, you'll be able to get a preview of what's being moved and whether you can place it there. So here you can see that I can't place this here because it would overlap with some existing lines. So, and the selection turns red. I'm going to press Escape to cancel my selection. And now let's try another example. Let's say I wanted to move these stations here so that I can add more stations in between. I'm going to use the Move Selection tool to move this over just to get it out of the way. You might notice that the preview shows that I can't move these stations to this part of the map, and that's because my selection box is a little bit too big. You might think that because you have empty space here in your selection box, that you should be able to place your selection here. But after a lot of testing, I decided not to allow it because then it might make it harder to get your selection back. So by putting it here, you can get your selection back. If I allowed you to place it here, it would be very difficult to get your selection back. You'd have to be very precise in how you set that up. If that's annoying or frustrating to you, I'd recommend using a very small selection, the smallest that you need, rather than having a lot of empty space. Selections are more than just moving parts of the map around though. If you have a selection, you can only draw and erase within that section. This can make it really easy to flood fill just one portion of your map. Let's take a look at how that works. First, I'll create a selection here, and let's go and add some parks to this area. I create my selection, I'll go to the draw menu, I'll add parks, and I'd like to flood fill. Notice that when I have the flood fill on here, even though all of these other points outside of the box are, eligible, right? They normally would flood fill and see the whole map. You can only edit points within your selection. So here, I can only flood fill this portion. That makes it really easy to just, select one portion of your map and flood fill it. I'm going to turn off flood fill for now to show you about the guide. If the straight line guide is on, it's going to limit the spaces that you can draw on and erase on in addition to the selection. Notice how in my selection, the squares outside of the selection for the guide turn red instead of blue. If I try to draw outside of the guide, it won't work. I can only draw within my selection. The same goes for the eraser. If I turn the eraser on and I try to erase any of the points that I'd normally be able to with the selection off, I can't do it because there's a selection. If you have the straight line guide off, you're still limited to drawing and erasing within the selection, but to make it really obvious, I made the whole map, except for your selection, tint red here. And I did that because I thought it would be more obvious. Without this red tinting, there wouldn't be any visual cue, like the guide, for instance, that, oh, hey, you can't draw here because there's a selection active. And so I thought that would be really frustrating. Hey, why isn't my line drawing the way I want it to? Why can't I erase where I want it to? Oh, right, that's because there's a selection active. I also added some keyboard shortcuts to allow you to delete an entire section of your map. So let's get rid of just these parks here. With a selection active, you can press the delete or backspace key, and that portion of your map is gone. But don't worry, you can always undo to get it back if you make a mistake. I'm really excited about moving selections in this release, but the thing I'm second most excited about is applying styles to your selection. So the style menu is really cool. You can change line widths, you can change what station shapes there are. You can even change, and this is a little bit drastic, you can change all of these station orientations. Now, this especially doesn't really work very well for most maps until now. And I want to show you if I undo, let's go and undo back to where we were. Okay, so now I'm going to move the menu over so you can see a little bit better. And then I'm going to create a selection for all of these up here, this section of the purple line, just to demonstrate. When you're using a selection, any choices that you make in the style menu will apply only to the selection. Notice that all of the buttons I'm pressing are only changing what appears in the purple line in my selection. The rest of the map is left completely alone. This is going to make it so much easier to make changes to your map or even to restyle some portion of your map without affecting the rest. And it might make it faster to change these station orientations for a big group of stations all at once. Many other features won't use the selection at all. For example, if you use the station tool, that's going to work as normal regardless of whether you have a selection active or not. It won't force you to only add or edit or move stations within your selection. I thought that would be really obnoxious, so you can edit stations completely normally. I did think it would be really useful to only draw and erase within your selection, and so that's why that is limited in that way. And one last thing, I thought it would be really distracting to have both the ruler and the select tool working at the same time. So if you use the select tool, it will turn off the ruler. And if you turn on the ruler, it will turn off the select tool. Select is a pretty big feature, and I'm really happy with how it works. I really hope you like it. If you aren't subscribed to my blog yet, you might want to. Go to blog.metromapmaker.com to subscribe. It's completely free, of course, and you'll get sneak previews just like this delivered to your email. I'm busy planning the next version of Metro Mapmaker, and I would love to hear your comments and suggestions. So if there's a feature you'd like to see in the next version of Metro Mapmaker, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching and happy map making. I look forward to seeing your maps.